Good morning, everybody. So momentum is stalling. Should be no surprise after that big, gigantic move up off of that V bottom. And up above all the MAs and up at this pivot high, this gap, I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the top of that bar, but I'm not sure that got closed. Either way, I guess it got close enough before it got rejected. Everybody recognizes, however you measure it, that prices are extended. They've moved too far too fast. I don't care what oscillator you put on there. It must read overbought, I imagine, unless you have some really slow settings, but that's what's wrong with indicators. You monkey with the settings. This just moved up a whole lot in a short amount of time, and it's at resistance. There's unfilled gaps below. There's no sign of a reversal yet because there isn't one. However, momentum is slowed down. You can see on the hourly chart, the distance between the highs have gotten closer together. So that typically precedes a break of trend and maybe the gap break, filling of this gap here, or it'll chop sideways. And the economic news that could move the markets is tomorrow. Looking today, 7 o'clock, there was a few things. And Powell speaking at 9:15. I don't think he's going to say anything different than he said last week. There weren't any reports prior to that. So unless, he got a phone call from the higher ups and told him what to say, I can't imagine he's going to change anything. So what we're looking for now is either a sideways correction or possibly we could get we want to see a rejection. A rejection. Where's this? Damn. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So I want to see. Well, we're not getting the gap up. Things are opening unchanged. But if we were to get, a reversal bar, we want to see some kind of a rejection. That's the bottom line. It could happen in an endless amount of ways, of course. So maybe if today prices went up a bit and then reverse back down again with a range expansion bar. So right now we're just waiting to see what's going to happen here. And right now, all we know is that momentum is slowed down. The hourly is still in an uptrend. Support is here. There's unfilled gaps. It's at resistance. So we don't expect much to happen until it happens, which we'll see it happening intraday. Prices are moving up here a little bit as I'm speaking. So I'm checking the premiums. You can see they're up against the high there on the daily chart. So basically unchanged. So going to SPX, and we'll look at other markets. Unchanged. Looking at the average range, which have contracted a little bit. So I didn't adjust these. Not much of a difference, but these are the numbers for today. But let me just double check. Whoa, 44.15. So as things have come up, you always got to look at these things because as things are moving pre-market, you got to look. Brings it down a little bit. And is looking at our average moves. This is within striking distance, and this is within striking distance. And this is what happens as momentum moves after an extended move like that. So this unfilled gap is here. It would have to get through. And it's above 4,400, a whole number where there's, expiring in December. I have to look to see about this month, but expiring in December. There's a big open interest at 4,400. So that tends to be a sticking point. So I think 44.15 is just fine today. There's no reversal. So Let me just see. This is probably moved as well. 23, 23, 25. Wow. Yeah, moved a lot. A lot. Zero DTE today. So yeah, it moved down as S&Ps moved up a little bit into the gap fill. So I think this is a no-brainer today, but I don't think this is going up much either. So and either strike has been working every day. So it's just been maybe which way it goes first thing in the morning. But if things move up early in the morning, this will lose premium relatively quickly. So, all right, the Qs have been outperforming as the FANG stocks have picked up momentum again. They're into resistance. We got a little bit of a range expansion bar. I suspect momentum is going to stall today, even if it takes this out. And you can see the distance between the highs here are further apart than what we saw in SPY. So momentum increased, but right into a resistance area. Historically, momentum is going to decrease. So today, even if this moves up above the high, it's likely to start chopping around. And so that's been sideways there yesterday and, basically unchanged today as well. Russell was kind of all over the place, but was weaker. This KRE jerked around, but that came up as it came down into that unfilled gap, but buyers stepped up ahead of time. So a little bit of a positive there. Not a bad looking chart for thinking long on the hourlies, and this is moving up here. So keep an eye on KRE and XBI and some oils. Oil's down a bunch, so we'll take a look at that. That's violated its trend on the weekly time frame as well. So that's should be another positive for the markets and for the transports, which didn't do really good or bad yesterday. It was just an inside day. But with oil down, maybe these can take out this high and move up a bit. And we've already reviewed the big weekly reversal bars, and so that's definitely positive. And I mentioned earlier in the week, and what I mention every time we see a wide range bar, whatever the time frame is, it creates a price void, which you can see here. Unfilled gaps, momentum moves higher, stay in the upper half. It can dip down. We want to see buyers on the dip. So we're basically in a mode of looking for more information on the very short term to see when prices are going to correct a bit, where the sideways are down a little bit, see if there's a continuation pattern, or hopefully not. I don't know for what reason it would happen, but a deep drop into that bar. So we're waiting to see how this is going to unfold after this historical, large move. I'll go back to it and we'll double check again. 43.25, 43.15. Let me just double check this numbers again. 40. No. What? I don't know what I was looking at there. 43.40. 43.40. I don't know. I got mixed up there. 43.40, which is pretty close. So 43.40 right now is 85 cents by 95 cents. And you got the 50 MA there. So market, picking up a little bit. And so the upside increases. So the 44.15 is 75 by 80. So that's fine. And as I said, you got the 4,400 number there. All right. AWM, transports, we checked out. Interest rates dropped yesterday. And, the markets moved up a little bit. And so they're down at support here. which they've been just whipped around. You got to keep an eye on these to see which way they're going to go. Um, and the dollar, they were going in opposite directions. The dollar and interest rates, which I said yesterday, basically neutralize things. But you can see the dollar. We don't get much data here. We'd have to look at other currencies, but it's up here a little bit more, and plenty of resistance over there. Oh, if keeping an eye on this or just set an alert, I would set an alert, say above the 20 MA. That might be more of a move than what we would want to see for the, being healthy for the markets. If it would stay here, go a little lower, because again, if the 13-week is going down, you can see it's up here a little bit. This will come down, and markets will like that. You can see the 13-week really, it's up a little bit. It's just not a big deal, but the way it came down here is a positive, which suggests the Fed is done. And we started talking about that a couple of weeks ago. And now we got a little bit more confirmation, which is a good thing. And the futures are going to look pretty much like what we've already seen. You see the momentum slowing down there, just at a crawl. Nothing's happening this morning. Maybe a little bit more of a push up. And if it does push up here and closes the day red, that's the start of a turn. We'll see if that happens. S&Ps, same thing. It's at the top of the range, going sideways. Certainly could go up. I'm not saying it can't. I said yesterday, just because this is extended, it doesn't mean it can't go a bit higher. And this has got room to go higher. Let's take a look at IWM. Not really not doing anything, but at least it's basing. In KRE, it's down. If this was to dip down, you can see, it's almost got to the gap fill there, just like IWM. But if this was to get like a rejection bar, where it does dip down this morning and flips back up again, I'll be looking at the Russell for longs, because the Russell underperforming and can play some catch up. So if KRE, these banking stocks, which had a nice move as well, if buyers can start to make a turn here, that should do well. Bitcoin is down a little bit. That had that monster move, and it's not doing anything. I got an alert down here. See if it pulls back. And gasoline's come down a whole bunch, coming down near this prior low. So anything that moves down, as this does with that kind of momentum, it gets extended, it popped up. And, if this can move down to here, and let's just see, where's those dots? It's hard to tell. Yeah, it's down there. If this was to flip back up again, maybe some oil and gas stocks would begin to turn around or outperform. Mentioned in the newsletter over the weekend, just looking for that. So oil, you can see where USO is, and crude oil is down. As I told you, this hasn't updated yet, but it's down here. So this, I don't think it's updating. It's not moving much. That resistance, that support there. But if you look at crude oil, it's violated its uptrend here through major support on the weekly time frame. So it's moved a lot, and there isn't, well, two things. This is where this major support is, down here. And so that's where we would think it would likely go to, give or take, right? That doesn't mean it has to go there today. There's a pivot low here. So coming down through here, greater than 100% retracement suggests, based on how our thinking is, that momentum would stall. And we see a small candle body. And as we look at the 60-minute chart, you see the breakdown and immediate reversal. So it's got a bullish 180 and a breakdown failure. So USO, where I showed you it was, if you look at some of the ETFs, and then of course going to some of the stocks in the ETF, maybe there's some turnarounds setting up as far as look at things that maybe showed relative strength yesterday that might be better opportunities. I didn't look at, there was a few oil related companies that reported earnings last night after the close. CL future support at 7. That's too far down, Manats, to even think about at this point. I know it's a downtrend, but we can have when we have a view, and say this is a continuous contract. So, the current contract might look a little different. So we can see that this major support is way down here. Right? That's obvious. It's the bigger support, but there are other concepts or part of our method that are happening before that. So you're kind of looking too far into the future, and you might say, well, I'm not, maybe I'm wrong about that, to say, look, you might just say, hey, if crude oil comes down there, I'm going to look to be a buyer. And until it gets down there, I'm sitting on my hands. And that's fine. On a short-term basis, I'm pointing out that prices have done a greater than 100% retracement, while this is not all the way down to this support area, right? So many times, and you got to look at it as an area. So I'm going to go like this. So because if we look at this and say, okay, the bottom of that swing there, that pivot is where it needs to go. Well, maybe. How many times have you looked at a low point like that and said, that's where I'm going to look for the turn, and it doesn't get there and it flips back up? Now, if you're looking for down here to be a buyer, well, you don't care. You got an alert set and you're going to see. But on a short-term basis, this might make a turn here. And if we can find oil stocks that are showing relative strength based on this little rejection of moving lower, maybe there's some strength for a day or two, and then it heads back down again. So we're looking at a shorter time frame and a longer time frame. Right? Someone's saying to me, FOMC meetings today and tomorrow? I think not. There's a couple of speakers on the Fed. One we mentioned, Powell speaking at 9:15. There's a bond auction for 17-week and 10-week at 11:30 and 1 o'clock. Fed Williams is speaking at 1:40. Barr is speaking at 2 o'clock. Jefferson is speaking at 4:45. And then tomorrow you got weekly jobless claims. You got Powell speaking again at 2 o'clock tomorrow. So they're up to something. And you got more guys speaking on Friday. So they're out there, whatever they're going to say, they got their plan. You can be sure of that. D-Buck saying with oil retracing, anti-inflation, yeah, but markets against resistance, we will have an interesting day ahead. Okay. Well, every day is interesting. Some days are just interesting but boring because they don't move very much. But anyway, take it away, Dan.
My apologies. I had the second mute thing on. Thanks. All right, I said, yeah, let's go right to earnings here. All our opens are fine. I don't have any alarms going off. Let's see. We start here from post-market. Arriving 1860. That would be a great put spread. Yesterday's low. PR Looks like a day trade short yesterday's low. Big void there. Cost is getting killed. That's a nasty percent. It was a sell setup. And I said yesterday, when we go through these, we consider them as a pre-earnings trade. And then I also make comments ahead of time saying, if the stock opens here, this is my bias. And so on this one, I said, if it opens flat, short yesterday's low, but gap's messing up. That's an ugly gap. I'm tossed. I guess had Ralph Lauren alarm go off. See, this was one I said, you know what? We can trade a breakout or breakdown. My 116 alarm went off. Still nothing to do right now, but I'm going to put it in a window, my other computer. Possible 30-minute high put spread to start. Ping 16 and a bearish gap under a green bar, but that's a mess. MQ up a little, but a mess. Yeah, these oils looked really bad. They look like they were going to bounce here based on last weekend's close. In the last 2 days, ugly reversals. Nothing to do. ETRS 945, bullish gap, but no void. Hood getting whacked. Remember, this was the old Robin Hood in the Corona days. Everyone's sitting at home trading Bitcoin and penny stocks and stuff. That's an ugly gap. We'll come back to you. Airy, ugly gap, but no pattern. eBay 30s, ugly gap in a downtrend. The weekly got a lot extended, but look at the monthly. That's an ugly monthly. That can come to $30 on the monthly, but there's no good entry on the daily right now. Now, Guild is a buy setup, gap in here to the 200. I'll put that in a window and see what happens there at the 200. It's a bio, but a more diversified one. Angie, potential bottoming pattern. We'll see if it can take out 30-minute high. 1190. A bullish gap. I mean, it has resistance here, but if it gets through it, the next target is 14 area. Hey, Mike. Schillis. This is one that I said if it opened flat by yesterday's high. It's a beautiful bottoming pattern with a one this is a total breakdown failure the way we like them. In fact, today MT Live is on shock patterns. I'm going to write this one down. This is to a T what we want. Because every time we have a pattern that's not a tradable event, you got to overlay all the other concepts. So this is a breakdown failure 180 reversal from a bottoming pattern with a void. So I'm going to set an alarm at 1620 to see if it can. Look, I already did. See that? I already set it at 16. So I already had that in my mind. Cody, I said the same, that if it opened flat, you could buy yesterday's high, but now it's gapping down, so it's not going to hit. Moss, I said if it opened flat, short yesterday's low. That's bearish. Breakdown, downtrend, daily, weekly. Upwork, big old gap. Yeah, I think this one had a big expected move. So the option prices were expecting a big gap. Wow, that's big. Bumble, look at the 20 and look at the 20, 50, and 200, all parallel and down. That stock's in trouble. I just don't know how to get on board, but that's a nasty downtrend. This one, gapping down, it's down a lot, but that was a bearish close. It looks like those oil stocks. PCT, I said if it opens flat, you could short this bear 1, 2, 3. And then I also said, this what got us into a long discussion on Climos yesterday. I said if it gapped over this red bar, then it's a breakdown failure, breakout with a big void. But as of now, it looks like it's heading lower. Akamai, we did a condor on this. I'll be looking to take profits at the open. We shorted the $100 put spread and the 120 call spread. So, it's going to gap against you either way. So it's gapping up, but we still have $7.50 out of the money. And we're going to make the majority of our money so far on the put. So 99% certainty we're going to have a nice big open gain on that. We just got to wait a couple minutes for the spreads to contract. There was a breakout failure. So nothing to do there other than maybe a call spread if there's anything at 1250 strike. Fly W's. Wow, that's an ugly gap too. Man. Look at this $18 level. Fly wire is getting killed. EXR. Yeah, I had this. I put it in the middle chart here. I had it as a long watch, but now it's moving too quick, too much. So nothing to do there. Wish. I set an alarm up here at 455. Potential bottoming pattern if we can get over the topping tail. Nerdy. I think I said if this doesn't gap up, this could be on its way to the graveyard. And look at that nasty gap down. Oh, I had an up alarm, but gapping down, so no interest. Kava, we talked about selling out of money puts, but we did not do them. But that would have worked. It's a mess. DAR, I have an up alarm, or I should actually put a down alarm in too, because ideally we get a retest, and then that would be a double bottom on the weekly. And DVA up a lot, 87. So the gap's too big. Hypothetically, if it just opened at 81.50-ish, I'd be all over that for a long. But gap's too big now. This was a potential bottoming pattern, but kind of up too much for a dollar stock. APLE, it's too extended, but it is bullish daily, weekly, monthly. FNF opening flattish. It's up a lot. Brothers. This was a pattern we were bullish on. If it can get over the high, we'll watch that on a pullback. A10 alarm. Bottoming pattern here. Nice end of day base. Let me get rid of EXR, put ATEN in there. All right, see, I just got filled on one of my earnings trades. Two of them. Oh, I got filled on my Akamai at 10 cents. I put an offer at 10 cents. Oh, and I'm at a Massey. I put an offer at 15 cents. I got filled. So both of those were filled right at the open, despite the gaps against us. So let me see if you all can get even better than 15 cents. 60, no. So close Massey, 15 cents. Nice trade there. All right, see, so that's a bearish gap now. That looks, that poor thing, 30-minute low looks bad. Okay, so let's see, the other one I got filled. Oh, it was 20 cents. I had an order out on Akamai. I put it out at 20 cents instead of 10 when I saw the big gap up. So I think the midpoint right now, uh, it's a little spready here. I'm gonna say close it at 15 to 20. I'm out at 20.